When it comes to movies in the film industry, what you see as the final product is not always the first idea brought to light on a franchise. The Alien movies have a history of multiple versions of a script being brought up, but many of them being turned down. While not every script has the best ideas to continue the Alien legacy, they can, however, give us alternate stories of different characters. And one of those scripts that I wanted to look at was one written by William Gibson. The original story he came up with was in 1987. It had no resemblance to the Alien 3 movie and script we have now. Instead, it was continuing the story of Corporal Hicks, Newt, and Bishop. They would battle a new type of xenomorph that was genetically altered. This all took place aboard the space station called Anchor Point. The first draft included a lot of aliens with intense action scenes, similar to the movie Aliens, so it was redone with some drastic changes. In his second draft, William Gibson would now present a story with fewer aliens and a slower pace to the film, mixed with some claustrophobic horror. While both versions had a set of unique ideas, the studio would turn him down. He was one of many writers to never see his story hit the big screen. However, in 2018, his script was adapted into a comic book series called Alien 3, the unproduced screenplay, and in 2019, an audio drama of the same script was released by Audible. Both sources show us an alternate story of what could have happened in Alien 3, but was never shown to us until now. The story continues after the Aliens movie. We see the USS Sulaco, the ship containing the survivors from Aliens, all of them placed into hypersleep capsules. Due to navigational software failure, the Sulaco has entered territory claimed by the Union of Progressive Peoples. A team from the UPP approaches the Sulaco and plans to board it, before it leaves their sector in about 14 minutes. The UPP crew would explore the Sulaco. They switch to night vision while being heavily armed. As they look around, they come across the severed lower body of Bishop. Afterwards, they would go into the hypersleep vault. There, they see 3 capsules, while the 4th one seems to have a malfunction. As they open it, the rest of Bishop's body is found, but there's also something else inside, an alien egg. According to the story on Audible, Bishop, who is voiced by Lance Henriksen, he explains how this is possible. Before Ripley fought the alien queen in the Sulaco, the queen was able to deposit her last egg within Bishop's chest cavity, a barely viable organism which has grown to maturity within his hypersleep pod. The facehugger within then jumps onto Kurtz, and while his team shoots the facehugger, its acid blood melts the faceplate. It then finds its way to his face. Kurtz would then run away into the docking bay. With their time running out, only 2 of them managed to leave the Sulaco, leaving behind Kurtz, but taking the body of Bishop with them. The Sulaco would then dock with the Anchor Point cluster. Here, we meet Jackson, Tully, and Spence. Jackson informs them that the Sulaco left Gateway 4 years ago with a crew of about 15, but when it returned, there were only 3. Another priority shuttle out of Gateway had docked right before the Sulaco arrived. 2 military science passengers were on board. They requested the Sulaco to be examined for biohazard contamination. Colonel Rossetti would then meet Kevin Fox and Susan Wells, the 2 military science personnel. Rossetti would question the reason for being there, which is to investigate the accidental failure in the ship's navigational system. Suspicions come up when Rossetti looks at their departure date. If the navigational system had malfunctioned on the Sulaco, why did Fox and Wells leave Gateway before it happened? Did they know it was going to malfunction? The secret to all of this is that the company caused the navigational failure by deliberately changing the route on the Sulaco. It was to go through the UPP sector, then brought to Anchor Point. They were well aware of what was on board the Sulaco. It carried specimens of weapons-related material. It became evident that the material in question had become active. Fox and Wells would participate in the sweep of the Sulaco. They were keen to know every detail about the Sulaco. It's not long until they find Bishop's lower body along with Newt. Ripley would suddenly scream and come out of her hypersleep pod, possibly going through nightmares. She lunges at the team, but is held down and sedated. After this, the team would find the UPP member who was attacked by the facehugger earlier. His body is then taken to the MedLab morgue to be examined. Meanwhile, Bishop's upper body was taken to UPP Rodina space station. They go through his memory in search of anything valuable. All of the information of Hadley's Hope within his database is extracted. Corporal Hicks and Newt are then brought into the story a bit more. They meet Spence and see Ripley later on, but she's still sleeping after going into catatonic shock. Back on the UPP Rodina station, the data about the xenomorph from Bishop's memory is discussed. Everything about its life cycle, the Nostromo, Hadley's Hope, all of it, is now known to the UPP. It also mentions that the host's DNA combines with the creature's genetic code to determine the resulting offspring. The creature is both sexless and self-replicating. Bishop proposes that each individual xenomorph has the genetic information to become a queen. This reproductive mode is somehow triggered by the proximity of an adequate number of host organisms. So, in other words, a single egg leads to a single xenomorph and then a queen. That is, of course, if there are enough hosts within a certain range. Any type of experimentation with alien genetic material would violate biological warfare limitations in the treaty agreed by everyone, but it seems the Weyland-Yutani Corporation has already broken this rule. So to buy themselves time, they repair Bishop's body and return it to Anchor Point, and pretend to know nothing of the aliens. Nobody will know the access to Bishop's memories. Tully and Spence would show Fox what they discovered about the alien cells, which were taken from Bishop's lower body. After it made contact with human DNA, it pulls itself into the double helix. The two structures would mesh together, which results in a hybrid. The process happens very quickly. Now, back in the UPP Rodina lab, they examine a genetically modified alien. They are impressed by its many features, like how fast its cells multiply, and how its gene structure had been designed for ease of manipulation. This alien species is so unique that it has universal compatibility with other plasms. They were cloning the xenomorph within a nutrient solution. They believe this alien is a weapon, the fruit of some ancient experiment, a living artifact, the product of genetic engineering. Perhaps what they are looking at is the result of someone else's arms race, a weapon created by someone a long time ago. We later see the embryos kept by the science team on the Anchor Point. The pressure would suddenly rise within the stasis tubes and burst through the glass. But these embryos were different. They opened up and released a mist into the air, then it evaporated. Wells had asked Tully about it, but he didn't see it, so he had no idea. For most of the story, the alien that emerged from Kurtz was still on the Sulaco. It was hiding within a damaged unit, and when it was replaced, this is how it ended up on the Anchor Point. When the Sulaco was prepared to leave, Newt would board it and Hicks would stay behind. Newt would return to Oregon and stay with relatives. Back on the UPP Rodina station, their experiments with cloning aliens seems to have backfired. An alien outbreak would occur later on. Any survivors within would try to fight off the xenomorph. Hicks, Spence, and Bishop would then agree to destroy the clone embryos on Anchor Point, only for Wells to show up with Rossetti. But unknown to her, the mist from the embryo in the incident earlier has already started to take an effect on her. She would then go through some type of metamorphosis. She was turning into an alien from underneath. Bishop said it was through an airborne process. It looked different. He called it a hybrid. While Ripley's presence in the story was only brief, she was seen near the end. But to protect her from the alien, Hicks would send her off into space within a lifeboat. While the UPP Rodina station is under a xenomorph attack, only one survivor makes it out, Chang. Right before they sent a coded transmission to the battlecruiser Nikolai Stoiko, the alien is ejected into space and she escapes. So now we have one xenomorph drone and one hybrid on Anchor Point, and as for Tully, he managed to freeze himself to prevent exposure to others. Fox had also destroyed the lifeboats and broadcast connection to prevent anyone from leaving and calling for help. The hybrid alien ends up biting Tatsumi on the leg and infects him at the same time. Because it was a new variant of the alien, this caused the mutation to occur rapidly, but he gets eliminated by Hicks, who used a weapon taken from Kurtz. The hybrid does meet up with the other alien. A battle occurs between them, but it ends quickly. The alien slashes at the hybrid's face, then lifts it up and rips it in half. They open the airlock, trying to send the alien into space, but when the door opens, Commander Chang from the Rodina station shows up. She opens fire with her ship and blasts the alien apart. The ending shows the survivors escaping Anchor Point just in time before it blows up. Bishop tells them, "You can't be united against a common enemy. You'll have to trace the xenomorph back to the point of origin." So the first thing I want to point out is the idea of an airborne virus to create a new type of alien. This idea was used in Alien Covenant. This in turn created the Neomorph in the movie. If you look at the script from William Gibson in 1987 for his version of Alien 3 and John Logan in 2015 for Alien Covenant, they both show a similarity when it comes to the mist emitting from an embryo or egg. Perhaps that's why they used a picture of a neomorph for the picture on Audible, to give a sense of connection between the old script in 1987 and the movie Alien Covenant. The other similarity was that we got to see two different types of aliens in both stories. The unproduced screenplay had a hybrid alien, while Alien Covenant introduced the neomorph. The last thing that linked these two stories together is when the UPP personnel would examine the alien's genetic code, saying that this creature was a product of genetic engineering. This could be a reference to how the engineers created an early version of an alien creature long ago. This was depicted in the murals within Prometheus, or how David would create another version of the xenomorph in Alien Covenant. Overall, the message is very clear. Xenomorphs were created by someone. So that covers the Alien 3 story by William Gibson. Do you think his idea would have made a better movie? Or do you feel the movie we got in the end was the best version? Tell me in the comments section. I also want to mention there were multiple writers that tried to make a story for Alien 3, but a lot of them got turned down. But this is one rare occasion when an unproduced screenplay gets brought up as a comic book. Now, if you want to see more lore around the Alien universe, then subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching and supporting my videos. My name is Carlos or Acid Glow, and I'll see you in the next video.